Perfect. Hey everyone, my name's Benjamin. I'm the co-founder and host of Model Talk. Today I'm joined by Ryan.
I am Ryan. Hello. I didn't know what to do then. It's me.
Yeah, Ryan, it's a pleasure to have you on. I know
Thank you
you've
for having
done actually quite a few bookings with us so far. I think maybe you can just give like a little brief introduction about like who you are and where you're from.
My name is Ryan, and I'm from London. So it's very obvious when you hear me talk.
Yes. Yeah, we just went over that, but like I also have some British friends, but they're slowly losing their accent, like
Yeah.
you mentioned.
I think if I did that, my mum would probably kill me.
Do you ever have the opportunity to go back home like quite
I-
often, or?
Not often. I try to go back home once a year, and I last went back in December.
Oh,
So, but it's really expensive to go back nowadays. Like flights,
Mm.
especially after COVID, are just ridiculous. So I think the next time I'm probably gonna go will be like September, October time. I think that'll
Nice.
probably be the easiest time, because otherwise I'm gonna pay like an arm and a leg, and
Yeah.
I don't want to do that.
I mean, that's the problem. Like Korea, so it's just it seems close, but it's actually so far
It's
from
really far, yeah.
everywhere.
And also, I feel like because my mum came last year
Mm.
and my auntie's come, the only person that hasn't come is my dad. And my mum was like, "Oh, should I come again?" And I was like, last time she spent 2 weeks in Seoul, and we went to Jeju. And I feel like my mum's 65, so for someone of her age, there's nothing left to do here. In the sense that, like, unless she's living here full time and can kind of potter around and do little things, like, unless I were to take her to Busan, but is it like worth her coming all this way just for me to take her to Busan?
Probably not.
Yeah, so I'm like I love it here, but I'm 20. Oh God, I'm 26 now.
Now you're making me feel even worse about myself.
Like, if for me to be here, yeah, like I can go out in the evening, I can do whatever I want. But like,
Okay.
they got to a point, like I took my mum to a bar and a club, but it was like, she was like, "Okay, it's 10 p.m. I want to go home now and sleep," and I'm like, "Okay, that's fair enough." Like,
I'll just drop her off and then go back out.
yeah, exactly. So
Nice. Yeah, so I think I gave you like a little bit of brief idea about like what the segment of is for this podcast, like and what the things we kind of talk about.
yeah,
And you're currently working as a fashion model here in Korea.
yes,
And I think I'd like to start back at maybe the beginning of like your fashion career. So like, did you always have interest in fashion or design?
yeah. So I really love. I have a bit of a problem. My mum says I have an addiction. Like, I love shopping for clothes.
Yeah.
And when I was in university, so I studied Chinese.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah.
你说中文吗?
我会讲中文.
Whoa! What? Wow, I was not expecting that. Wow, that's really cool.
Oh, are you Chinese?
No, I'm half Japanese, but my first like few contracts for modeling were in China. So me and Hannah actually can speak very basic conversational Mandarin.
Oh, amazing.
Wow, that's really, really cool. Sorry to cut you
No,
off, but
no,
keep
it's
going.
okay.
That was like way out of left field. I was not expecting that.
It's because my mum. So when I was like 12,
Yeah.
in England, you have to do like French or Spanish or German, and I did French. And then they gave me this paper, and they were like, "Do you want to change language?" And then my mum was like, "Yes, he wants to do Chinese." And it was like this pilot thing. The government was funding it. My mum was like, "Absolutely, you do." And I started crying. I was like, "Everyone's doing Spanish. I want to do Spanish." And then she was like, "No." And so here I am, like 14 years later, still. So I just kept doing it. And then I didn't know what I wanted to do for a degree. And my mum and my Chinese teacher at a parents' evening, they just shook hands and decided what university I was going to go to, and I was going to study Chinese. And I just worked, and I just got in. And I was like, well. And then that was how I ended up in Korea, because when I lived in China, everyone was in my class was either Japanese or Chinese, and either Japanese or Korean. Sorry, and the Koreans were the majority. There were like 28 in our class, and they were like, "Come to Korea," and I was like, "Okay."
Where in China were you studying?
In Beijing.
Oh, okay, wow.
Yeah, so
That's probably wow. I don't know if I should say it because I know my Chinese social points are gonna go down, but it's maybe my least favorite city.
really?
Yeah.
I think it will always feel like home to me. But like, I really like. Most of my friends are from Sichuan
Okay.
and like Chengdu area, so I
Good
really
food.
yeah, exactly. So I like going to there if I go to China. So and then when I came back from my year abroad, I got a job in Gucci.
Okay, wow.
So
nice.
I think that was just because I spoke Chinese, to be honest, because I was like 20, and they were like, "Oh yeah, sure, work," and I was like, "Okay," um, and that was like, I guess, high fashion that I really like. I enjoyed that, and because we had to like sell clothes, obviously, but we had to actually do. It's a lot weirder than you think. Like you have to do like training for like 2 weeks before you're allowed to go into the store,
Oh, really?
and you have to do styling training, and we get like some qualification things about patterns and things like that, and we have to go to conventions. And so that was when like I always enjoyed dressing and things like that, but then having to do those things I thought was really fun, and I met some really nice people as well. And then also we got to try on the clothes and see the processes of them being made and things like that. So for a 20-year-old, I was like, this is so much fun.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And then I quit that job, came back to Korea for like 3 months, well, China and Korea for like 3 months, and then I got a job at Burberry.
Oh, nice.
And I did the same thing again, but instead of it being like the whole Gucci training, it was Burberry training. And I enjoyed it again. And so it was just like one of those things that I thought like I had an inkling for the interest, and then it got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And so, and then when I graduated, it was COVID. It was COVID. And my graduate job I got was in the first Off-White store in London.
Cool.
So, but then my mum got really sick, unfortunately. She's fine now, thank God. But I had to quit that job only like a month or two in. But again, I went through the same training and doing everything, and so it was really interesting. So I kind of like all of those things, and just not the mic.
No, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
And throughout like the entire time of doing all of those things, because I got to try on the clothes as well and do all of those things, I found that I like dressing up and these kinds of things, and I wanted to see if I could be the model behind all of that, because the only other experience I had of any sort of modeling industry was I did an internship as a booker at an agency in London.
Oh, okay. It's a very different job.
Yeah. I was so stressed. I want to go home. Like every day I was like, go home to my mum, and she was like, not even being paid for this. I was like, I know. And my dad was like, you're not being paid? Oh, and I was like, oh yeah, it does get worse, but it's an experience.
So what was the first job? Where was the first job you ever did for modeling?
In Korea.
In Korea?
Yeah.
So what was that like? What was that experience like?
It was crazy. My first modeling job here, because like, you know, there's different categories here that you can kind of do. So like the first one I did where I was like, I guess considered a model, was I did a TV show called Comedy Big League.
I'm not familiar.
I mean, I'd heard of it, and it was a whole sketch about a Spanish boy that didn't speak Korean going on a game show, and like all of the Korean celebrities that were on it grew up in, like, I think one of them grew up in Honduras or something.
Oh, cool.
So they actually all spoke Spanish, and I don't. And so this whole sketch was supposed to be based around the fact that I don't speak Korean, but actually I just didn't speak Spanish.
Did they know you couldn't speak Spanish, or?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But then it was like they spoke English, so it was all like great and it was all fun. But my manager turned to me at the time. She was like, "So how long have you been here? What kind of jobs have you done?" I was like, "This is my first." And she was like, "Oh, oh God." And so, but then like, I guess different exposure to different things. My first, I think, fashion job was a lookbook for Lifework.
Okay.
And I'd seen the brand everywhere because I live in Hongdae, so I'd seen everyone with this like bulldog T-shirt thing. And then they contacted my two friends and I, and they were like, "Oh, we want the three of you to come and do this lookbook." And I was like, "Oh,
wow, that's cool."
Yeah, and I like had like sweaty palms. I was like, "Oh, I don't know about that one. Am I ready for that?" But it was like really fun, and also I think because I was with like my two best friends, it was really nice, like for an introductory job.
I mean, for a first job, being able to be with like other people that you feel really comfortable with.
Exactly.
Because I'm sure, like, as you found out, it can be a really uncomfortable experience because, you know, you don't know anybody there. It's like really tight deadlines. Yeah. Everybody's like, go, 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 go.
And sometimes people are awful as well.
Yes.
And then
there are definitely good clients and there are definitely bad clients. So how have you found it, like, progressing from now your first job to like your whatever number you're on now? Like, do you feel more comfortable?
I feel so much more comfortable. Yeah. I think also as well, like I don't tend, like when I first started, I was very quiet.
Mm.
And I think people thought that I was quiet, not in the sense that I wouldn't talk to anyone or anything, but I would always wait to be spoken to
Mm.
because I was always very nervous about
Mm.
upsetting someone, especially if it was the client.
Yeah.
And now I just tend to talk, like be more open. Like I always said hi and, was very polite, but I think there's difference between politeness and personality.
Mm.
And I don't think in the beginning of it, I showed a lot of my true personality,
Mm-hmm.
only through the sense that I was very scared that if I said something wrong or something went awry, they would blame me. I wouldn't get booked again.
Yeah.
And that was what really I was like, oh God. So I didn't want to have any sort of bad experience, but now I'm so comfortable in the sense that like I work with a lot of the same producers, I work with a lot of the same staff, that I feel like, oh, it's fine. Actually, sometimes, because Korea is quite small.
It's a very small market.
Yeah, and I mean, lots of the models, you also know lots of the staff, and sometimes they can you'll have their Instagram or their Kakao talk, and they can even if they don't know that you've booked the job, they'll see it on like the Conti, and then they'll be like, oh, I see we're working together next week, and I'm like, oh, that's great. Now I don't feel as morbidly uncomfortable.
I've had that a couple times where like I went to a job, never met the makeup artist, and then she looked at me, and then she just shows me on her phone. She's like, "Do you have a job next week?" I'm like, "Do you have a job next week?" And it's just like that connection.
Right, I'll see you next week.
But I mean, like that's the thing, for a lot of people that don't have access into this industry or know about the modeling side of the business, because it's really closed off.
Yeah.
Reputation is everything.
Yeah.
Especially in your early career when you're developing your book or learning how to pose, you know, like nervousness is so standard. Like I don't think anybody really went to their first shoot and was just like, bang,
I got it.
bang,
Yeah.
bang.
I think one of the things I did the first time was I had like that whole TikTok said, I got 2 looks and that's it. But then it was like literally me and my 2 poses against the world. And I like in the corner was on YouTube, like men's fashion poses, looking at TikTok or Pinterest. And I was like, oh yeah, that one looks good. And then like I tried it and they were like, absolutely do not do that again. And I was like, okay, I won't do that one again.
I think like, some of the best jobs are like creatives or editorials.
Yeah, definitely.
Because I mean, if we're talking in terms of making money, commercial modeling is king.
Yeah.
Like TVC campaign. Well, there's some fashion campaign, but majority is like normal retail brands.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of ability for like free expression.
Yeah.
Right? But sometimes when you have like a good creative or editorial, you can really start to try like, obscure
random
posing,
wacky things,
like whatever dynamic movement. And I think like that's like some of the most fun stuff.
I think so too, yeah.
Have you ever had like an opportunity to shoot like a editorial or?
I did a magazine 2 months ago.
Oh,
the first that I'd ever done, and I was like so giddy and excited. And then one of my best friends was working with me.
Oh, that's cool.
So it was really nice. And it was like, oh God, when's it coming out? Next month.
Nice.
But it's like all like office themed, but in like a really weird way. But it's kind of half of it is an editorial that's going in the magazine, and some of it's for the online magazine. So they made like a video as well. So we were doing all sorts of weird things, like pretending we could talk to the camera and tapping on it. And they'd rented out this entire office building, and then we just basically got to like trash the building.
Oh, that's so cool.
So it was really fun, like swinging around on the chairs. It was like, because, like you said, the creative freedom, they were like, can you do a handstand? Yeah, let's do a handstand. And I was like, oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So
like, I think when they just give you like the freedom to just, interact with like the clothes, because obviously there is some kind of like mental picture you can drum up of how like I can play with this outfit.
Yeah. And
then once you have that ability to actually do that, the pictures are always the best. Like they always come out so well, Have you ever had the opportunity to do any modeling outside of Korea? Like I know you said you had some experience in China. That's one of the biggest markets, right?
I've not so far had any opportunity. I think maybe I'll try. I recently joined a new agency, so like I don't know, maybe if they'll try and send me somewhere. The only thing I did do when I was in China was a TV show.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I did one random TV show and I pulled my hamstring. And
Oh,
then,
was it it's like an exercise show or?
no, it was literally just a variety show.
Oh,
Well,
okay.
but then they got this choreographer and they were like, "Oh, he can dance." So I was like, "Oh, okay." And then we did the choreography, and then on the stage, I like slipped, and I was like, "Oh, on national television." And I think I was more worried. It was like a Sunday evening, and the Monday morning I had class at like 8 a.m.
Oh no.
And then my teacher was like, I like hobbled into the class in crutches with my leg bandaged up. And my teacher was like, "I saw you on TV last night falling over." And I was like, "No, you didn't." I was like, "Don't tell the admin office. Just give me my attendance points."
Nice. Do you have like a? Because I know like now like you're more familiar with the fashion market, the modeling market, and the industry.
Mm.
Do you have like a really dream destination or market you want to go work? Like, is that back in London? Is that Milan, Paris, New York, Barcelona?
I
Like
think I really
anywhere?
want to try China.
Yeah.
That's like the ideal market for me,
Mm-hmm.
just because I think because I grew up in London, so I grew up around all of like London Fashion Week and
Mm-hmm.
all of those things, and it's something that I'm very exposed to.
Mm-hmm.
But I think people downplay a lot of what Asia's got to offer
Oh,
in particular.
there's no doubt.
And I
Yeah.
think that like even other smaller countries like Thailand they have
Mhm.
fashion week and everything,
Yeah.
and no one talks about those kinds of things. I'd love to try
Mm-hmm.
somewhere like that, like those kind anywhere, and also not just like I know big brands are obviously really good for whoever wants to do them and all of
Mhm.
those things, but I actually really like smaller brands, especially
Mhm.
because I guess they don't have a name to maintain, so they can just make whatever they want.
Yeah.
And I want to try things with those kinds of brands
Mm.
in smaller countries, even like I don't know. I mean, I know actually one of the Ukrainian models I know said that they have Ukraine Fashion Week. I was like, oh,
I mean, they have it everywhere, now.
yeah. So
Like even Vietnam, I never. So obviously now with the platform, we're trying to explore where we can bring it to offer more exposure and direct bookings for models. And I had never ever thought about Vietnam being like a fashion hub, but they
yeah,
have like a big fashion week that I was like never knew about. Like it's everywhere. It really is everywhere.
yeah. That's why I'm like, oh. So I think, to be honest, anywhere that someone will take me, I'll go.
Mm.
You got a plane ticket? I've got legs and suitcase. I'll be there.
I mean, I love that because, like, I think the one of the best things about modeling is the ability to travel. Like, you can really kind of go and set up shop anywhere and like experience a lot of different culture or just things in general. The only thing I would say about China, you got to be ready to work hard.
Yeah.
Like I've had shootings there, and like friends have had shootings that have gone like 18 hours straight.
Oh, it's
Right.
okay. Yeah.
Like you're shooting 600 pieces. Like and they're very conscious. Depends on the client, depends on the brand, like your relationship with them,
Mm.
but they're usually very time conscious of like, hey, we're on the clock. Let's go.
Mm.
Like we don't have time to like wait around or play on the phone or do this. Like you better get working. But the byproduct of that is, man, they pay really, really, really well.
Oh.
Yeah. So like, well, especially now that I know that you have the ability to speak Mandarin, like your opportunity cost there is huge.
Yeah. That's what I mean. I hope to one day go. I mean, obviously, I lived there as a student, and it was very different. And I know that working would be different, but I mean, I like to work.
I mean, there's great model communities there. Like,
yeah.
I mean, you just kind of have to land on a city that you want to go to. So, like, maybe if you just want to make money and shoot a lot of e-commerce and lookbook and get a lot of experience and sort of build up your book for the commercial market, then you can go somewhere like Guangzhou or Hangzhou or yeah, those are the two main. And then if you want a larger variety or opportunity for different kinds of jobs, then you go to a major city, right? Like maybe Beijing or Shanghai. But the thing is, in China, you get to fly out around a lot because it's so easy, right?
Yeah.
Like you might have an agency in Guangzhou, and then they're going to send you to Shanghai, then Beijing, then Xiamen, then Chengdu, like who knows? But that's actually really interesting because I think I think most models get maybe too inundated with this like fantasy of like, oh, the four major fashion markets, New York, Paris, London, Milan, are like, that's the Shangri-La fashion and like that's where the best jobs are, that's where the coolest is. And yeah, there's a lot of great photographers, designers, and everything else.
Yeah.
But there's still like a lot of really, really good opportunity over here to build your book.
Yeah, exactly. Also, I think like one thing that I found is here there's not as many people that have my look. So it's a lot easier for me to, if they're looking for a very specific thing, and if they need me, then they need me. If they don't, then they don't, and I'm very okay with that. I don't want to like be competing with like 50 other people that look like me, like realistically, especially if they're going to be like taller, more athletic and everything. And I'm like, oh, that ain't no way. Let me just stay in my little lane, enjoy my little life.
I mean, like that's that. Okay, so you know what? This segments into something I always ask is, I think you need really thick skin to be in this industry.
God,
You would agree, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think people really don't like if you can't take rejection.
Yeah.
This
is not for you.
Yeah, it really isn't, and I don't think people realize that.
Yeah.
Because it's like I remember like when I did my first casting, or maybe you can recall.
Yeah.
And you didn't get it, and you're like, oh my God, I'm never gonna be able to do this job.
Yeah.
Or like nobody likes me.
Yeah.
But like over time you get over that. But I think for people coming into the industry now, it's like, hey, have that mindset that you need to be able to just brush it off your shoulder.
Yeah. Like I've got a couple, so most of my friends here are teachers, and they don't realize that so much of my time is spent like doing social media or because you're basically being a self-promoter. Like obviously you've got agencies doing it for you as well and everything, but like you also have to like put in as much work as they're going to put in, because if you're sat around doing nothing, then you really won't get anything. And it can be like a case of someone being like, oh, I really want you, and then whatever, and it could be like an hour before and they're like, oh, we've cancelled everything. Like there was a job I had last month and I only applied for it randomly. They were like, oh, can you do this lookbook? And I was like, yeah, sure. And then in the end, it ended up being like one of my highest paying jobs of the month. So I was like, oh, I need this. And then like the next, I think she hadn't messaged me, and it was supposed to be the shoot was on Wednesday. And it got to Tuesday evening. I was like, hey, babe, like, where's the location? What's the time? She was like, oh, yeah, it got cancelled. I was like, oh. And like, that's one thing. And then also like, you like really having thick skin and being able to brush it off, because obviously I don't know what the problem is. I'm not going to assume it's me. But then there's also things like you'll see so many of your friends get the same castings as you were up for and everything, and then you see the direction they either went in, or it could be someone that looks very similar to you. And you also have to be able to like cheer on your peers, because
of course.
I mean, if you have resentment for them, that's like, I don't know, there's something not quite right about that. Like obviously you're like, oh, I wish that was me, but you can't then be like, it shouldn't have been them. There's a difference between I wish it was me and it shouldn't have been them. And I think that's one thing like people have to like really get over as well. There's like loads of things that I think people don't realize, that they just think, oh, we go and take pictures and then we get us a little money. And I'm like, yeah, after I've fought for what hourly rate I want, the usage fee, gone to the gym, done my skincare, shaved for like the 16th time in a week, like all of those things, and then people don't realize that there's a whole encompassing picture.
So how do you find like balancing all of the things that you need to do to represent yourself as like a really professional model? So like going to the gym or
I'm trying to get back. Luckily my mum is a PT.
Oh,
so
nice.
I hate the gym, but I know it must be done. And then like luckily, because of how like big I am, dieting isn't really a thing that I have to do, because I need to make sure I have enough calorie intake. Otherwise I'd probably just pass out. But like I'm trying to get better at going to bed early, waking up early, and those kinds of things. I do my skincare religiously. I could come back from any situation, no matter what time of day it is. I must wash my face and do my skincare. And it takes me, it's like, now I have it down pat. It's like 5 minutes, but like before I'd be like, oh, not half an hour after the nightclub, 5 a.m., whatever. But like, you have to do it because you don't know if you're going to get a call and be like, oh, last minute, can you come to this? And I'd be like, yes, I absolutely can. My skin is ready.
Yeah.
And then like going to the gym, I try not to spend too long at the gym, just because mentally as well, it's quite exhausting.
Yep.
If you think like, oh, I can just do another set, and if I do another of this and I'm like, no, just do what you have to do, and then just go home.
Mm-hmm.
And then also as well, like, I think it's really nice when like two of my friends, one thing they really did for me is like build me up. Like they got me my first agency, and then they helped to build me up as a model by like, we went to cafes, and because Korea is like a very aesthetic place. If you need somewhere to go aesthetically, you can do something about it and take photos and take me to events and all of those things. And obviously I always want to repay the favor to them. So if I ever have anything that I can take them to, I always do. So things like that, you have to kind of, if you're not working, I guess, fill your day with something that you can use in your life.
Yep.
And we all understand that as well. So it's like, if none of us are working on like a Thursday, we're like, right, I found this cafe, we're going to it because it has this theme. And then everyone's like, okay, I kind of dress like this, or I need this on my feed, and kind of move that into play, because it's really surprising what, especially here, I mean, I'm not sure about other countries, obviously, but I know that here, like the power of a hashtag, like I put like an infamous thing. I never wear baseball caps, never. Like I've never done it. I got here, I did one picture with a baseball cap, and I ended up getting like 5 shootings from it. And literally it was just me like hashtag streetwear, hashtag, and like in Korean or whatever. And
so now you wear baseball caps Monday to Sunday.
Monday to Sunday, literally. You catch me without a baseball cap, I'm not doing work. Because like, and then if I get to like, no matter what shooting it is, I had a beauty shooting the other day, they put me in a baseball cap. I was like, is this not an advert for lip gloss? And then they were like, yeah, put a baseball cap on. I was like, oh. And what's worse is like, I go there with my hair like fully done, and then they like shove a baseball cap on me. And then they're like, can you take it off for 2 seconds? I'm like, no, I look like I've worn a helmet because my hair is like completely flat. So like, oh yeah, just keep it on. It looks really cool. And I'm like, okay. It's also one of those things, I guess, like you, part of the thick skin, I think, if you get a niche, you just have to keep it.
Yeah.
Like if some, not necessarily pushing you into a box. If it's a bad box, try and escape from it, I guess. But my box is so far away from the person that I am that it's funny. But I'm in that box and it makes me money, so I just keep it. Like I do so many music videos, and I'm always the thug, the gangster, the gun wielder, the party boy. Party boy I'll take, but like the thug, the gangster, I'm like, oh. Or like if I do a fashion lookbook, it's always the streetwear kid. Like I've never been put in a suit and tie. It's always given those baggy jeans.
Well, you know what?
Yeah.
You don't want to do the suit and tie job. Those are so long, and the outfit changes take like, especially like when you have those ones that are like, okay, we're gonna do a 3-piece suit, and then we have 10 more 3-piece suits right after that. You're like,
You're like, oh wait, no way, another 3-piece suit? Wow.
are you sure you don't want me to just put on like a t-shirt and jeans or t-shirt and shorts, and we can get this done in 30 minutes?
Yeah,
like,
you see, like I never envy those jobs, especially in the summer, because I sweat.
yeah.
And I see my friends, and they're like, oh yeah, like another like winter wool coat. But I'm like, oh, not a cardigan and a wool coat in this heat? No.
Because, well, I mean, that's how the seasons rotate,
Yeah.
right? Like, they need to shoot the winter stuff in the summer. Like,
Yeah.
I remember when I was doing contracts in China, that was the worst because it's like
Freezing.
July.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, boiling in
Or it's
July.
either flipped, right?
Yeah.
So it's either middle of the winter and you're shooting outside for God knows what reason, and you're in t-shirts and a shirt, and you're just like, take the photo, please.
They're like, stop moving. And you're like, okay.
Or it's like the flipped, and then it's summer, but you have like these huge parkas,
Yeah.
and then your makeup is
It's
just
melting.
off of your face, and
Yep.
that's like one of the worst feelings ever, right?
Yeah.
You can't do anything about it because
No.
you're like, well, if I blot it, then it's gonna come off, and
Yeah.
then it's gonna be all splotchy.
Yeah.
and-
So you just like sit there and look like a melting wax figure.
Yes, exactly. Do you have like a dream designer, or like this is the job I want to go and work for? Like,
Yes.
okay, so what is it?
For a lookbook, if I'm being honest, I know I need to go to the gym more to do it, but I would love to work for 51%.
Is that a Korean brand?
Yeah.
51%. You know who to book.
So like, I don't know. That's like, I really like the style of the clothes. It's very like, I don't know, is jeans and a vest, and I'm a jeans and a vest kind of boy. Like, I really love it. So I've been quite lucky in the sense that like, or maybe like nerdy.
Oh,
one
okay,
of
yeah,
those
I know them.
And I think actually nerdy is probably the more achievable in the aesthetic that I have, if that makes sense.
Nothing is beyond reach.
No, I don't think so either. I think, but at this current moment, in the like aesthetic in the box that I have, like portfolio wise, I think that's probably the more one that they'd be like, oh yeah, can see him in a tracksuit. Whereas I think because 51%, the men are like big, like really gym goer.
Okay. Like bodybuilder big?
Not bodybuilder big, but like their physique is really, really good. And I think just like aesthetically, I can see what it kind of is. And so I think if I work hard enough, I can get there. And I like, it motivates me actually to work hard. But I think like also looking at like, I think aesthetically, facially wise as well, it makes a lot of difference. Not to say that, you know, they won't ever say yes or they won't ever do this, that, because I contacted them once and I did speak to them about doing some stuff, but I think having to take into account how they perceive you. And again, it's like that thing of having thick skin. It's not necessarily that there's anything wrong with your look.
Yeah, of course.
It's just they have a very different vision of what you might perceive yourself as opposed to what they perceive you as. Like I said with the whole thing, like I never used to wear tracksuits and all of those things. Like, as I say, I'm a jeans and vest kind of boy, especially in the summer or whatever. And like anytime I go anywhere, slapped in a baseball cap and, you know, cargo trousers and t-shirt, and I'm like, oh, this is not me. But I don't hate it, and it's the vision that people have of me.
Do you ever feel like, because maybe a lot of the jobs that you're booking are like of a certain aesthetic, that you're slowly enveloping yourself into that aesthetic outside of work? Yeah,
definitely. I've never owned a pair of cargo trousers since I was like 8 or 9, since my mum used to buy them for me. Now I own like 15 pairs.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Like it really just wasn't for me. And then I kind of saw, I guess, like you dress differently every day and based on how you feel and everything like that. But I could slowly start to see why brands chose me for this and put me in those things, the way it suits my body and the way I look in it is very like suitable, as opposed to maybe what I've been wearing before. Not necessarily what I was wearing before was bad, but this is kind of me in a different light. Yeah. And also I think I dress in a way sometimes that not ages me, but like is more mature than what I would think. And so then I'm like, I go to a casting and I always look at what the brand is. If like the agency sends me, oh, it's for this brand.
I used to do that all the time.
And then I kind of dress more what they want, because I mean, I know that they will give you the clothes. Well, most of the time. Sometimes they don't. They're just like, oh, we just want to see you. And in the eventuality that that's the case, I'd rather dress in a way that's kind of what they're looking for than something else and then have to change, but they can't quite see the vision. If you kind of give it to them, then they're like, oh, I see this. It's like not.
It's easier for them to visualize you in their product.
Exactly.
For sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's like super, super, super common in Asia. Maybe not so common in Europe.
Oh, really?
Because, I mean, when I was working there, most of the agents were like, hey, look, like this is the standard. Don't show up to the casting unless you're like wearing like let's say like a black tee and this, because the designer wants to see everybody in the same palette so that they can make a basement, or like they can base who they're gonna pick off of like the facial structure, the height, or the body composition or something, versus like, oh, that guy might have a really incredible profile, but he dresses like absolute trash, right?
Yeah.
Versus this guy who I don't think is maybe the best for my brand, but wow, like that outfit is
fire.
Yeah, go put on my clothes and let's do this. You know. So where did you develop like your personal aesthetic?
I think a lot of it here. Before coming here, I mean, we're very tall. It's sometimes really hard to find clothes, especially if you've got long legs. Because I know there's lots of models here that maybe they're not actually that tall, which is also fine. But or they might be tall and not have long legs.
Yeah.
And so I've found it quite hard is that one thing I do is kind of my aesthetic can change based on what I need. Like in the summer, I can wear shorts. So it's not like a problem for me to find things that need to fit a certain way or do a set. But in the winter, it's like, I can't have my ankles out. Like, I don't know, like the sweat is, first of all, it's too cold. And it looks like I didn't buy the right size trousers. And I think my dad would kill me. So it's like, a lot of it was, I think one thing from the brands that I've shot with, I'm like, oh, I actually look good in a pair of black cargo trousers. I should go and buy a pair. And then I do. Sometimes it's things that I've been gifted from brands, like hats, hoodies, T-shirts, those kinds of things. And I wear them because not only is it good for the brand, it's good for me. And I actually like the products. And then some of it as well is like based on, I think, trends. I can't particularly follow lots of the trends that they have here.
Oh my gosh, it's changing all the time.
It changes all the time, and the colors also sometimes don't suit me. Like, green is my favorite color, but there was this green going around here. That green, I think she's still going. She's not died her death yet, but I don't suit the green.
Is it like the key lime pie green?
Yes, it is the key lime pie green. Yeah. And I love it, like looking at it, but it doesn't work on me, so I can't wear it. So it's also like some of the cuts. They're very different. Like, I like a cropped cut, but if it's cropped for like maybe an average Korean man, they tend to be shorter than me.
Yes.
So it's like, it's not cropped cut, it's a crop top. So it's like, I can't do that unless I try and flash half my stomach.
I'm guessing you have the same problem as me. Like every time you go to a shooting, they give you like double XL or XL, and you're like, this is the biggest you got?
Yeah. And it's like, or it's like a double XL and it just about fits around your waist. And I'm like, oh, that's not, because in like, I'm a medium actually. And then, or is a double XL and it goes all the way down to your ankles. But it doesn't go around your waist. And then you've got like 5,000 pins in the back of your,
I mean, that's the thing too. Like people, like I always see those memes where it's like what the front looks like, and then versus the back,
the turnaround,
and nobody other than models know what that is actually like.
And then people are like, is it really like that? I'm like, yes, my trousers are being held together by 5 safety pins.
Yes. I mean, all the time, like I find myself now just like bringing a clip because I'm like, okay, just.
Oh, that's a good idea. I need to get one of those.
I can just do it really quickly.
Do it yourself.
Because, you know, like sometimes they're like, oh, like I need to fix the shirt in the back, and now I need to move the clip, and then I need to move the other clip, and then this and that, and this and that, and this and that, right?
My thing with when the clothes don't fit, I always make sure I wear like very nice underwear. Because I've had several occasions where I'm wearing a pair of trousers and the clip breaks and my pants just fall down, and I'm like, well, at least we had a nice pair of boxers on today. Worst comes to worst, at least you see a nice pair of briefs. Like,
do you have so where's like your favorite spot to go and like source these clothes that like are fitting your aesthetic? Like I know Songsu is really hot right now for vintage clothes or pop-ups.
There's a store in Hongdae and it's called Clo & Co, something like that. I also went to Busan. They had one in Busan. I was like, this is really random, but anyway. And I love it because it's, and there's Tomato in Gangnam, because actually, contrary to popular belief, they don't have many shops for Korean men's clothes here, like men's clothes in Korea, unless you're going to like H&M, Zara, or like the things that we have in the West. But I guess for like their fashion trends, I mean, there's like one in Hongdae Street, but these places actually have men's clothes that are on brand that you would see like trendy that actually fit. It's like the first shop I've ever gone into that wasn't Zara, that like the jeans go down to my shoes. And it's like, I don't know, something about that touched me. But in those places that I tend to find clothes that I like, that's where I can shop. And sometimes like smaller brands or
I mean, you don't have to give away all of your secrets.
Oh no, it's fine. Like, I know that like people also as well, like sometimes people don't have the same aesthetic as me, and I'd rather people know where to shop as opposed to seeing more foreigners walking around with ankle swingers. Like Songshin Women's University has good clothing stores.
Oh,
And
really?
randomly, exit 11 of Suwon Station. I know it's a bit far, but there is just a
That's
whole
down south, right?
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
There's just a whole street of clothing stores.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and they've actually all got like different things,
Oh, that's cool.
and they're not outrageously priced. And I was like, oh, yes,
Like priced well.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
So like, it's like really nice. So, and it was just randomly because I met a friend there, but otherwise I wouldn't have known. Like there's I think sometimes I find vintage shopping quite hard because I think in Korea it's outrageously expensive.
It can be for sure.
Yeah.
There's one called Ball Ball.
Oh
They
yeah, yeah,
have one in Green Street,
yes,
like Garusuke, and then they also have one near our office in Seongsu.
yeah.
That's like the only vintage shop I'll ever go to in Korea.
Oh, really?
Because that's the only one like I found like
Good stuff.
reasonably priced stuff. Like Hannah was able to get like a really nice Rick Owens winter jacket and
Ooh.
leather jacket, and it was like $300 and I don't know, $450 or something.
Oh,
Which I was like, you need to buy that right now. Like the price is like
crazy.
this is like European price. Like
Yeah.
if I go to Milan and I go to a random vintage shop, I'm gonna see the same brands, but the price is actually reflective of it
Yeah.
being like a used vintage
yeah.
piece, right?
That's the thing I find. Like if I go somewhere and there'd be like a pair of Levi 501s, and I'm like, ain't no way this pair of jeans is $200. No, because like even the new ones are not that price. So where did you get this worn in? Like someone else has had their booty in these jeans, and you're charging more than the original. Hello.
Yeah, there's a store that I really love. I don't know if I should say the name or not say the name because like I want to go back there and buy stuff and okay,
Don't say the name.
they like I really had this obsession with like the double pant Carhartt painter jeans.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, like now what I wear is like baggier, comfy stuff. I just want to be cozy. I was like, okay, I'm gonna go buy a pair. Online, it's like $200 new, and I'm like, okay, but like I want a little bit distressed.
Yeah.
And then I go to the store and it's like $250, and I'm like, well, why am I paying a premium now?
Yeah.
Huh?
Because someone distressed the jeans.
Yeah.
I've got enough stress. I can distress myself. I can distress a pair of jeans.
Just wearing them. Yeah, that's awesome. Like I think like a lot of people also struggle with like, finding an aesthetic that suits them versus like everything now is really fast fashion.
Yes.
And I think I'm always an advocate for, spend a little bit more money for something that you
Will
really
last
want.
longer.
Will last longer. The quality is better. The materials feel better. You
Even
put it
like-
on and you feel good.
Yeah, a simple thing as well, like it washes better.
Mm.
My it's like a thing that my grandmother taught me. She'd be like, "You spend £10 more on a jumper and it'll wash better." And I'm like, actually, yeah, it's really true. Like, but also as well, I think one thing is like people don't realize that you can have different aesthetic every day if you want to, and also like even for things like a professional aesthetic and then a personal aesthetic, because like I'll go to a casting or a job in something completely different as to what I'd wear on a night out. But I think particularly in Korea, and this isn't like a thing that I've seen before in other countries, they tend to have very like day to night transitional things in the
what
sense.
do you mean?
In England, I would never get away with going to the club in some of the things I've gotten away with in Korea.
Oh, like they wouldn't let you in.
They would never let me in. Like there's like, some clubs, no jeans. You have to have polishable shoes on.
Oh, okay.
Those kinds of things. And like in Korea, yesterday I went to the club in my Crocs. Like it's just not heard of. And I think, but like not in the sense that I would, I like to dress up. So yeah, I'm going to get dressed. But then there's like, I have a nightclub outfit. There's like even different clothing for, depending on the place. I wouldn't dress the same to go out for lunch in Hongdae as I would to go out for lunch in Gangnam. And it's purely just as well because like, I'm foreign for one thing. I don't want people are already staring at us. I don't want someone to then also think that I've not kind of gotten the memo. Like I already look like an outsider. I don't want to be perceived so much as one. that I also maybe get treated differently, in the sense that like, oh, he doesn't know what he's doing. He's lost. I never want to be perceived as lost. Like, I am lost, but you don't need to know that. Like, so that's like one thing, is like that kind of thing. Or even like in the summer, like 2 different aesthetics. Like, I know that here, if I want to go out to a bar or something, like, yes, I can wear a vest on the top, but they're not going to let me in shorts. But, or I could wear shorts, but I have to wear a shirt. If that makes sense. Like, you can't have everything on show. Whereas like in the summer, my family and I go to Greece. You can walk somewhere in a Speedo brief and still get served. It doesn't matter. But I'm taking into account as well the culture socially of what area I'm in, based on what aesthetic I need to kind of have.
Well, like, I think the thing is too, like, I find here, no matter where I go or when I go, people are always dressed to the nines.
Yeah.
Like it's actually kind of tough sometimes, because I live like very, very close to Gangnam Station.
Oh yeah.
So like sometimes, like it's Friday night and I'm not going out. I'm just wearing my track pants, then like this old sweatsuit, and I just want to go to the store to get some food, or like we're gonna go out and pick up some food and bring it back home. And like we're walking around in like our old flip flops or whatever, and every single person is dressed so well, so sharp, so clean, and I'm just like,
the best in their wardrobe. Yeah,
they must think we're homeless.
Yeah, no, that's genuinely, and I can't, and I think some things as well, like people let you get away with a lot when you say you're a model here, or like if they perceive you as one, you can get away with a lot. Like you can go somewhere in a tracksuit, and they're like, "Oh, but like that's like a model off duty," and I'm like, "Oh no!" Like genuinely, I was not expecting to be out tonight. That's what it is, and you do feel like really bummy, like and I'm just like, "Oh no." And like,
but I mean, it's kind of nice too, because then when like you are going out, you're like, okay, like I gotta
the switch, the Wonder Woman style.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, like what else do I want to know? Wow, I really, really love this conversation. It's just like super, super flowy. Do you have like a favorite kind of job? Like, have you ever done runway?
I've never done runway before.
Do you have any desire to do runway?
I do want to try. I got a couple of castings for Seoul Fashion Week, as in like I actually did the audition, but I tend to find like body composition wise and aesthetic wise, I don't think I fit the mold for especially what they're looking for here. Some of the brands maybe yes, but there's like I tend to be, if I go on the heavier set side, as in like a lot more muscly than the counterparts, whether that's Western or Asian. I think because the agencies that send them tend to send those of like a slender aesthetic and those kinds of things. So then when they see me in stark contrast, unless there is a specific look that they would need to have me for, they're like, I don't think it's going to work. But even just having the casting itself is really big for me, because I never saw myself doing those kinds of things. But that's why, again, like a brand like 51%, lots of the models that I saw on the runway were shorter than me, and they were heavier set. So I'm like, so I know that it's out there, so I can do it. But it's just, I guess, kind of finding the right brand that fits. But you've got to try everything, don't just. But I think my favorite kind of job, I have 2. It depends. One is music videos. I love a music video just because I find the vibe is a lot more chill.
Have you ever worked with like really big artists? Or
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Are you allowed to say?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's out and it's on my Instagram. So I did like BTS.
Oh, wow, that's so cool.
I did Sugar from BTS's like concert VCR.
Nice.
And also the thing is, like, I like K-pop, but I'm not I don't know anything about BTS. Really, like I like some of their songs, but as for like the members and who they are and those kinds of things, I don't know. And also, you have to sign those NDAs, so until it's released, you can't say anything. And all of my friends are massive BTS fans, and so I was like, yeah. And then they went to Sugar's concert, and then the VCR came up, and I had to kidnap him. So again, that like cornered aesthetic. And I physically had to like pick him up, put a sack over his head, and throw him into a van. And then everyone was like, Ryan, so I've just come back from a concert. Why did you pick up one of the BTS boys and put him in a van? And I was like, yeah, that paid my rent for the month. Like, I didn't think anything of it.
Yeah.
So that was like one big one, I guess.
That's cool.
And then I also got like loads of DMs. Like I put it on Instagram, and I got like 1,000 likes, and then I suddenly got all these like 12-year-old girls in my DMs being like, "How dare you touch Sugar? How dare?" And then like there was that, and then there was the flip side of, "How big is Sugar's waist?" And I'm like, like,
Can you pick me up and put me into a van?
Yeah.
Like those kind of things.
Like I'm like, oh, no, I'm not gonna do that.
Yeah.
But so those kinds of things, they're fun. And then I think otherwise, like, I like lookbooks, even if it's not like clothing ones. I love that because I just like trying on clothes. It's like going into a store and just getting changed for me. But I like those, or like lookbooks for cosmetic products. Those kinds of things are fun because actually they put so much more thought than you would think into finding the aesthetic of the like the backdrop for everything. So like whether it's outside or inside, and then the clothes that they're making you wear, the hat that they make me wear in my case, and how everything kind of blends together. I like seeing people's creative process. So those kinds of things are like really nice for me.
What are like what's what do you find most difficult like when you're on set? Like for me, it's like I'm the type of person like when I'm working, I just want to go like so when it's like like I need to fix this tiny wrinkle that they're just gonna fix in post, or like this or that. I'm like, hey, let's just keep the ball rolling.
Yeah, I think that like setting takes a long time. I feel more for the staff than I do for me because like realistically, I'm just going to sit there and have a drink and go on my phone. I think the like, I guess the most difficult part for me actually can sometimes be the food. Like,
yeah,
if I see another doshirak.
I think I've had since modeling in Korea, I've had mom's touch maybe too many times to count.
Yeah, but you know what? I take mum's touch over a doshirak that I like physically. I want to hurl it like a discus. I hate it. They present it and they're like, "Here's lunch," and I'm like,
all I want is like a $4 gimbap.
Yeah, no, like that's also fine for me. Like I don't mind, but it's just or when they I don't drink coffee, and I know it's really
really?
Yeah, like everyone's like, "How do you survive without drinking coffee?"
Congratulations.
I hate the taste. It's not like if I needed to. No, I can't. I really hate the taste. I can't drink it. But like I could do a Red Bull. If I need to keep my energy up, I'll do a Red Bull. But like, I can't drink the coffee. And sometimes they do like bulk orders of ice Americanos. And
that's the only thing they drink here.
Yeah, and I physically want to heave. Like I see it and I'm like, oh, no way, not the ice Americano, not the death drink.
I mean, I think that's one of the things. Actually, now that I think about it, like long shoots, I definitely start to like decline towards the end, and then it's really hard to like
pick yourself up.
Yeah,
that's the snack table and me. We're best friends, unless suddenly like they're like, oh, can you unbutton your shirt? I'm like, I always have a sneak look at the Conti or like the looks that they've got you up for, because I did what's the brand? Core, like the whole fashion thing. It took 24 hours to do. Like we were there for 24 hours. We were there from like 9 till 9. And I didn't expect that. Pay was delicious. Loved that for me. But like,
it's a lookbook?
Yeah, it was like a whole fashion video lookbook thing. So it was all of the lookbooks for the website. There were like, I think 10 models. Like there were some domestic models, I guess like us would be domestic. Then there were Korean models. And then there were international brought in models. And they had loads of different concepts. And it was this whole film that the film actually went on for like 6 minutes. And they played it at the COEX. And it was like a massive advert. And they put it in pop-up stores, and it was like really cool. Like very glad. That's how I found my agency that I'm in now. But like that. First of all, we didn't know what the looks were going to be. They were just there got a point where they actually just had to start putting us in random clothes because one of the vans that had the clothes in hadn't come yet, and they needed to keep going. And they fed me like 5 bowls of rice, and then they were like, "Can you unzip your shirt?" I was like, "Can I do what?" with after 5 bowls of rice. And then one boy was like doing press ups in the corner. I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna have to join him actually." And like that was a setup first of all. But then like your energy slowly starts to climb, and I think I understand their reasoning of like, instead of making it 2 days, rent the studio, do it all of this and do it all of that and get out. I get that completely. But then I think the dip in energy is sometimes so hard to come back from that it's like, and also I feel like sometimes the models physically start to look exhausted. Like the makeup starts getting cakey, crusty, like, and you're like, "Oh, the makeup artist needs to fix it." I'm like, "Babe, she can't fix what God needs to. Like, I need sleep and an ibuprofen. It's not up to
No
her.
amount of foundation and concealer is gonna
Yeah.
bring me back.
She's not Jesus. she can't do this." Like, it does get to that point, but like, I mean, it's fun and it's an experience and you can talk about it. But then like, you're like, "Oh," and you look at it after and you're like, "Oh, post went ham with that retouch."
Yeah.
Because like, I know that the bags, like, it was like check-in and an extra carry-on as well. I was like, "Oh." So, but yeah, no, I think that's one of the like.
And like outside of the set, like what's the one thing you find like most difficult about being a model?
Fighting for my life about payment. It really depends because there's like Spotlite, we set our payment, and if the client accepts you as the model, they accept your payment, and that's that. Also, my agency now negotiates the payment for me for the jobs that they get me, so I don't have to. Because I have a client base already, some of them will just give me the same pay as they did before, which is fine. And like, I'm more than happy with that pay, so I just take it again. Then there's some that like, the clients are like, "Oh, we have less of a budget." And I'm like, "Well, do you know what? You book me like every month. I can take less of a budget this month because I know next month it will be different." But then there's also people that's like, you know, these are like big brands that they're telling you, or like big commercials or big companies. That's the word I'm looking for as well. And then they're like, "Oh, but we only have a budget of like $50 an hour." I'm like, "No, you don't. No, where's the rest of that money?"
Well, you know where the rest of that money is.
Yeah, but like also sometimes when it's direct and they're like, "We don't have that much of a budget," and I'm like, "Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. Show me the money."
Yeah.
Because also as well, it's like, then there's the push and pull of like, how much do you want the job? Because you weigh up so many things, and
It's
I think
always a game of chicken.
Yeah,
you know?
and it's such a mental strain because like my friends will be like, "Oh my God, you earn what for that?" And I'm like, "No, let's bear in mind, this is the company. This is how much they sell a day. This is how much of Korea that they own. This is how much of the US market that they own. This is how much of like all of these different things like you're taking into account." And then you're also thinking as well, how good is the exposure? Because sometimes like I've taken jobs that are terribly paid, but it's everywhere. And I know that the usage was not worth it, but then from that exposure, I've gotten like 10 other jobs.
Yeah.
Like I did a Pelicana commercial, and the payment for it was really good, and I got it through my agency, and it was really fun. It was played at the World Cup.
Oh, that's cool.
So like every commercial that they played the same Pelicana advert, to the point where my friends' parents were telling me that they'd seen me in things, and I was like, "Oh," and I was like, they were like, "Yeah, the chicken boy." And then I did a Jameson commercial,
Oh, nice.
and the reason that the guy chose me was because I did Pelicana.
Oh, that's cool.
And he was like, "You did a chicken advert. I saw it when I was watching the World Cup final." And I was like, "Oh." And he was like, "That's why we picked you." And I was like, "Okay." So like, it's nice to see the payoff. And so that's why you have to like, you're like, yes, my time and sanity is worth a price. But then also as well, it's like the exposure might be worth more. Like if you take one slightly less paying job, you know, it might go up in the right station, the right person might see it, and you might get a different job completely.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, like I really want to keep this rolling.
Oh, no, sorry, I've been yapping away.
No, like these are the kind of conversations that I really enjoy. Like I think like like most people, it's really hard to just be themselves and like talk about these kind of things, and they kind of have to pull it out. But yeah, like I really, really, really enjoyed this conversation.
No,
and,
I've
like,
had a really good
I
time.
hope we can bring you back on for like another episode down the line.
Yeah, let me know. I'll be here to yap.
We're also thinking about starting to do more like of a round table setting where we can bring in some photographers or makeup artists, and everybody can kind of share their experience together, because we're all in the same boat at the end of the day. But yeah, I'd just like to thank you so much
thank you so much
being
for
part
having
of
me.
this. 51%.
Yeah.
51%. We're hunting that this year. Again, thank you so much, Ryan.
No, thank you for having me.
Maybe you just want to give a quick shout out for your social handles and stuff, but we can link all that in the video as well.
I actually changed it so everything's the same social handle. TikTok and Instagram, my two main things. Well, Instagram main and then TikTok second. And it's rybrows.pdf, because don't look at them now, but when they're done, they're Ryan's eyebrows, so they're eyebrows. And then the .pdf is because my 5-year-old niece had an obsession with the computer at the time, and it was just this whole thing. So.
Well, you can find Ryan there. Yeah, thank you again, Ryan.
Thank you for
hope to have you back.
Yes, thank you so much.